Congratulations on making it off Tutorial Island. Now what? Unlike most modern MMOs, Old School is a huge sandbox. You won't have somebody holding your hand telling you which town to go to and which activity to do. This brings us to our first tip. While an open world game like this can be daunting at first, it can be very fun and rewarding if you give yourself certain goals that you can meet. If you have no idea where to start, you can always begin with the Activity Advisor. It introduces you to some basics in Old School and gives you these dopamine-inducing pop-ups when you achieve a goal. Maybe you want to follow in Hanani's footsteps and be a woodcutting bot and watch woodcutting number go up, or achieve some new collection logs or combat achievements. Most of Old School goals are getting number to go up. One of the most rewarding things to do in the early game are quests. RuneScape has some of the best quests of any MMO I've ever played. Even if you decide to use a guide and rush through all of the dialogue, you won't get the kill 200 bears type of quests you'll see in many other MMOs. The most difficult part of quests is knowing where to start. At the time of recording, there are over 150 quests, and each one has different requirements and different rewards. My recommendation is to use the optimal quest guide. It gives you the best order to do the quests, and has different versions depending on if you play a normal account, an Ironman, free-to-play, or members. So where do you find this optimal quest guide? OSRS has the best wiki out of any game I've ever played, hands down. You can find the optimal quest guide here, training guides for every skill, accurate drop rates for every monster in the game, or even where to get a specific item. I've played this game for years and years, over a decade even, and I still get on the wiki almost daily. We even have a wiki button built into the game, so you can look things up on the fly. Almost every monster I'm fighting, I check the wiki on it. I like to see what the drops they have, and how much I can complain when I get a rune square shield drop. Also, when I'm looking for certain things like Sandfuse serums, it's nice to be able to search the wiki and see what drops them and how those drops align with my goals. OSRS has a huge community, and they're all able to constantly update the wiki. Speaking of the community, Old School has a huge player base with thousands of different communities. So how do you find yours? The best way to talk with people is to join a clan. You can guest chat in a clan for a while, or you can just join it and leave if you feel it's not a good fit for you. Through your everyday gameplay, you're likely to see people advertising their clan, especially if you go to busy places like the Grand Exchange or Wintertot. If you want to be more active about finding a clan though, you can do a Google search for one. There's literally hundreds of Reddit posts about it. Try a few clans out and see what type of group you click with. Besides clans, there's also friends chats. If you're doing a specific activity, you can join the friend chat for it by clicking join in the grouping system. And you can talk with anybody else who has joined this friend chat. Usually they're doing the same activity. Every account by default gets a friend chat, so you can make a group by people joining your friend chat. This makes it so you can be in 3 different group chats at once. You can have the friends chat, your clan chat, and you can be a guest in the clan chat. You can talk in each one by typing /, // or //. If you want to be locked into a certain chat, you can type this, so you don't have to type slashes before every message. Clans are nice, so you can have a familiar group of people to talk with no matter where you are. Even in solo places like the Fight Caves or Inferno, you can ask people for advice. It's also nice for finding people to help you learn content, or even to just pull a raid team together. A lot of clans will call out useful things like Dragon Implings as well, so you can make extra money on top of everything else. While you're in a clan, you may see messages like this. which don't really make sense at first, unless... There are 3 different clients for Old School RuneScape. The official client, RuneLite, and HDOS. Ignore the person in TOA telling you about a super cool client. You're gonna get hacked. By far, RuneLite is the most used client, and it's what I'll be referring to for the rest of the video pretty much. That being said, HDOS and the official client are making constant improvements, so if you play them, they may catch up eventually. I did a video on the graphical comparisons of each if you're interested in that. Besides the enhanced graphics, plugins on HDOS and RuneLite allow you to swap what your clicks do, give you information boxes, give you convenient bank layouts, let you know how much experience you have banked for certain skills, and even simple things like hovering over an icon on the world map to see the best travel options. These are very useful. Speaking of travel, travel is one of the earliest things you're going to want to unlock. The world map is huge. Magic unlocks various teleports, but if you're a normal account, you can always buy teleport tablets from the Grand Exchange to have them immediately. Jewelry has several teleports, and so do fairy rings. Charter ships can be used at any level, and they just take a little bit of gold. If you train your construction, you can add the teleport nexus, the spirit tree, the fairy ring, and the jewelry box in your house. It's one of the main goals I think you should go for early on. How do you know which teleport to use for where though? Usually I just go to the world map and look for the closest icon. Let's say I have a clue here. I would just check the world map and see that this is the closest teleport. You can use the teleports on jewelry while it's equipped or while it's in your inventory. So what's the best way to switch between these 2 tabs quickly? F keys are a must as you get more into endgame bosses and raiding. These are set up through the settings in-game, not the RuneLite settings. I think you should put the frequently used ones together, with the most important ones early on. The most important tabs, in my opinion, are the Inventory tab, Prayer, Spellbook, Gear, and the Attack tiles. Some tabs, like the emotes or music tracks, may be useful to assign for things like clue scrolls. I only use them rarely though, so I do the arduous task of actually clicking on the icon for those 2. If you don't like the F key locations, you can use the key remapping plugin on RuneLite to set the F keys to any other key. This might be useful if you're coming from another game and you're used to pushing something like I for inventory. Speaking of the inventory, I used to dread my farm runs. My inventory would get so full of these dirty leaves, and I would have to bank after every herb patch. It was a pain. I spent too much of my life being a bozo. If you didn't know, you can just use your harvest on this dude, and he notes them. Besides noting things for your farm runs, you can also note things at a bank. Noting things is useful for selling stuff in bulk, or if you're an Ironman, it can be useful for decanting a lot of potions into 4-dose potions. It can also be helpful for things like construction. If you bring a stack of noted planks or logs to Files in Remington, he can unnote them. I did this when training construction because the other way to make the planks for construction is to do it on a PvP world, and Sleep Depraved Pen would often forget he was in a PvP world and die. Happens to all of us. Except mutts, hopefully. If you died to being PK'd, anything you lost is probably gone. You can run back to the spot you died in case anything on the ground, but likely you're just wasting your time. If you died to a monster, you have 15 minutes to get back to your spot. Otherwise, they will get sent to Death's office and it'll be much more expensive. Instead of using gold though, it's best to use Death's coffer. You can deposit items in here for a 5% bonus. So an item worth 100,000 turns into 105,000 in Death's coffer. This is especially nice for normal accounts that see an item that is being sold well below its grand exchange price, because now you'll get much more than a 5% bonus. It's also nice for irons who get dupes. Putting one Dexter's Prayer Scroll in the coffer will last you a very long time. When you die and go back to your grave, you will notice your consumables on the ground. This is nice for some strategies, but personally, I want to re-gear and have food in my inventory quickly. So I toggle this in the settings for my consumables to go into the grave for quick looting. If your grave does disappear, you can still get your items back. You just have to visit Death. He will hold your items until you claim them again, but it does cost a bit more. This is one of the many places that we see gold is very useful. No matter what type of account you play, gold will be very useful. Except this dude. For a normal account, pretty much all of your skills can be trained through GP, as well as upgrading your gear. So most people try and do activities that generate the most gold per hour. For irons, gold is still useful for training. Things like construction and smithing take a lot of gold, as well as dyeing. It's a bit trickier to make gold on an iron though. Early game, I would suggest gathering steel plate bodies in the wilderness to help you with those beginning hurdles. You can sell them at the shop in Varrock for a good price. There are no requirements and can be done at level 3. Though it might be nice to have a friend walk you through the area, as there are some enemies that can hit fairly high. Corrupted Gauntlet and LMS are always good for GP, but they have a bit of a higher skill ceiling. Training Slayer and alching the drops brings in consistent money while training several useful skills. Updates like Giant's Foundry keep getting added into the game as well, which makes lower level GP more accessible. Go ball, you baller. Old School RuneScape is one of the biggest MMOs out there, but it's very hard to explain its charm. It's got so much variety, hardly anyone plays the game the same way. Hopefully, this video helps you dip your toes in the water that is OSRS. If you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.